Why you should stop chasing happiness. The Stoic truth that will change your life. Hook. What if everything you've been told about happiness is wrong? From a young age, we're taught that happiness is something to pursue. Get the dream job. You'll be happy. Find the perfect partner. You'll be happy. Make more money. Buy a bigger house. Gain more followers. Then you'll finally feel complete. But have you noticed something strange? The more people chase happiness, the more anxious, exhausted, and dissatisfied they seem to become. Why? Because happiness is like a shadow. The harder you chase it, the faster it slips away. Marcus Aurelius understood this nearly 2,000 years ago. He realized that the happiest people are often the ones who stop trying so desperately to be happy. Today, you'll discover why chasing happiness may actually be making you miserable, and what the Stoics suggest you pursue instead. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may completely change the way you define a successful life. Introduction. Imagine standing on a beach, watching the horizon. No matter how far you walk, the horizon never gets closer. Happiness can feel exactly like that. You tell yourself, I'll be happy when I lose weight, when I earn more money, when people finally respect me, when life becomes easier. But once you reach one goal, your mind quietly creates another, then another, then another. This endless cycle has a name. Modern psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. The Stoics simply called it misunderstanding the nature of life, because they believed happiness isn't found by collecting more. It's found by needing less. Marcus Aurelius never expected life to give him constant pleasure. Instead, he focused on becoming someone who could remain steady through both joy and hardship. And that simple shift changed everything. Part 1. The trap of I'll be happy when... Think back to a goal you once believed would change your life forever. Maybe it was graduating, getting your first job, buying a new car, finding the perfect relationship. At the time, it felt like happiness was waiting just beyond that milestone. Then you achieved it. For a while, you felt excited, proud, satisfied. But slowly, that feeling faded, and your mind quietly whispered, "What's next?" This is one of the oldest traps of the human mind. We convince ourselves that happiness lives somewhere in the future, always one achievement away, one purchase away, one promotion away. But if happiness always belongs to tomorrow, you'll never truly experience today. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't reject success. They rejected dependence on success. There's a profound difference. Success is something you can pursue, but your peace should never depend on whether you achieve it. Because if your happiness depends on circumstances, then circumstances become your master. True freedom begins when your inner peace remains steady, even while your goals continue to evolve. Part 2. Pleasure is temporary. Purpose endures. Imagine eating your favorite dessert. The first bite feels incredible. The second is still enjoyable. By the 10th bite, the excitement is already fading. Human beings adapt remarkably fast. What once felt extraordinary soon becomes ordinary. This doesn't only happen with food. It happens with money, possessions, status, recognition, even success itself. Psychologists call this adaptation. The Stoics simply recognized it as part of human nature. That's why they warned against building your life around pleasure alone. Pleasure comes and goes. Purpose remains. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up asking, "How can I be happier today?" He asked, How can I become a better person today? Notice how different those questions are. One chases a feeling, the other builds a character. Feelings change every hour, character grows every day, and over time, character creates a kind of fulfillment that pleasure alone never can. A meaningful life isn't one where every day feels exciting. It's one where every day moves you closer to becoming the person you respect. That kind of satisfaction lasts far longer than temporary happiness, because it isn't based on what happens to you, it's based on who you choose to become. Part 3. Gratitude changes what you already have imagined receiving a brand new phone. For the first few days, you admire it constantly, you protect it, you appreciate every detail. A few months later, it becomes normal. You barely notice it anymore. Nothing changed about the phone. What changed was your attention. The human mind naturally adapts to what it already has. That's why many people spend their lives chasing more, instead of appreciating enough. The Stoics practiced the opposite. Rather than asking, "What am I missing?" they asked, "What would I miss if it disappeared tomorrow?" Your health, your family, a close friend, the ability to walk, the simple privilege of waking up each morning. These gifts often become invisible, not because they lack value, but because they are always there. Gratitude brings them back into view. Marcus Aurelius regularly reminded himself not to take ordinary blessings for granted, because he understood a timeless truth. A grateful mind is far more difficult to disturb. Gratitude doesn't erase pain. It simply prevents pain from becoming the only thing you notice. And sometimes, that small shift is enough to completely change your day. Part 4. Stop comparing your life to everyone else. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy contentment. Today, it's easier than ever. Open social media. Within minutes, you'll see people traveling the world, buying expensive homes, driving luxury cars, celebrating achievements. What you don't see are their failures, their fears, their sleepless nights, their private struggles. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. No one wins that game. The Stoics refuse to measure their worth by another person's success, because another person's path isn't yours. Marcus Aurelius wasn't trying to become someone else. He focused on becoming the best version of himself. That's the only comparison that leads to growth. Ask yourself, am I wiser than I was last year? Am I kinder, more disciplined, more patient? Those are comparisons that build character, not insecurity. The moment you stop competing with everyone else, you finally have enough energy to become yourself. And that is far more rewarding than trying to become someone you're not. Part 5. Happiness is a byproduct, not a goal. Imagine planting a tree. Every morning you dig it up to check whether the roots have grown. What happens? The tree never has a chance to grow. Happiness works the same way. The more you constantly ask, "Am I happy yet?" the more you interrupt the very process that creates happiness. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology continues to confirm. Happiness is rarely found by chasing happiness itself. It appears as a byproduct of living well. When you live with purpose, happiness quietly follows. When you practice discipline, self-respect quietly follows. When you serve others, meaning quietly follows. When you become grateful, contentment quietly follows. Notice the pattern. None of these begin with the pursuit of happiness. They begin with the pursuit of character. Marcus Aurelius never promised himself a life without suffering. He promised himself that no matter what happened, he would respond with wisdom. And strangely enough, that commitment often produced a deeper happiness than pleasure ever could. Because pleasure depends on circumstances. Peace depends on perspective. Conclusion: the world tells you to chase happiness. The Stoics tell you to chase virtue. The world tells you to collect more. The Stoics tell you to appreciate more. The world tells you to seek comfort. The Stoics tell you to build character. At first, these ideas seem completely opposite. But over time, you discover something remarkable. The people who spend their lives chasing happiness rarely catch it. The people who spend their lives becoming wiser, kinder, more disciplined, often find happiness waiting for them along the way. Remember this: happiness is like a butterfly. The harder you try to catch it, the farther it flies. But when you quietly tend the garden of your own character, it often lands on your shoulder without you even noticing. That's the Stoic secret. Stop chasing happiness. Start becoming the kind of person who naturally experiences it. If you're ready to stop chasing happiness and start building a meaningful life, leave one word in the comments: purpose. Let it remind you that a meaningful life will always outlast a pleasurable one. If this lesson changed your perspective, subscribe to Stoic Mindset and join us every week as we explore timeless Stoic wisdom, modern psychology, and practical habits for building an unshakable mind. Because true happiness isn't something you find, it's something that quietly grows as you become the person you were meant to be.